The moment I stepped inside the cabin, something felt wrong. It wasn't the silence. I expected that. Snow muffled everything outside, the world buried in stillness. What struck me was the absence of me. No boots waiting by the door. No framed picture of us on the mantel. Even the leather chair I had chosen, the one that fit me perfectly, was gone, replaced by something bland and impersonal. Then I found the folder. Hidden in the office drawer, labeled simply, property. The papers inside weren't mine anymore. Everything had been redone, titles reprinted, files reorganized, names altered. My name was gone, erased cleanly as if I'd never existed. Only her maiden name and her parents' names remained. When I confronted her father, he barely looked up from his coffee. "We just updated a few things," he said, casual, like we were talking about taking out the trash. She smiled beside him, her voice honeyed and poisonous at once. "It's still family land." I walked away before my anger broke loose. For hours I drove down that frozen mountain road, the car heater broken, my gut twisted into knots. That night, I couldn't sleep. Instead, I opened the safe and pulled out the original deed, the one I'd signed, the one with my name, my money, my effort carved into ink. And I sent it to the one person they would never expect. But that moment came later. 3 years earlier, the cabin had been nothing more than a neglected shell. A sagging log frame on forgotten land. I saw possibility. She saw meaning. We spent weekends breathing life into it. New walls. New wiring. New beginnings. Her parents dismissed it then, called it too remote. Funny how quickly they changed their minds once it was finished. Suddenly it was their retirement escape, as though they had built it themselves. She used to run barefoot up the porch steps, hair wild, eyes lit with joy. She called it our sanctuary. She said it was the first place she ever felt truly at peace. She said a lot of things. The change was gradual. At first, she stopped coming with me on weekends, claiming work kept her tied down. Then came the unexplained nights out with friends, absent from any calendar. I noticed charges from hardware stores near the cabin. Paint. Lumber. Locks. "You said it needed updating," she shrugged one evening. "I never said that." Then her phone lit up across the table. A preview from her father. "Everything's in motion. He won't notice." She didn't see me read it. I didn't confront her. I just kissed her forehead, told her to rest, and after that, I stopped sleeping beside her. She thought I was sulking. I wasn't. I was planning. Pain sharpens you. It makes you precise. I hired someone discreet. He came back with photographs. Her parents unloading furniture, replacing signs, tearing out the fixtures I'd installed. And then my wife at the clerk's office, smiling as she handed over paperwork. I dug deeper. Digital records. Filing timestamps. Property transfers. They weren't just stealing the cabin, they were erasing me from existence. But paper doesn't vanish. Not when it's notarized. Not when it's filed in 3 states. Not when the original deed carries your name, your ID, your investment. They mistook me for sentimental. They forgot I was methodical. I made copies of everything. I labeled, timestamped, catalogued. And then I waited. My anonymous tip was small but deliberate, enough to spark a routine audit. The discrepancies surfaced right on schedule. From there, I mailed the entire file to her aunt, a retired real estate lawyer who loathed her brother, my wife's father. They underestimated her too. She went nuclear. Filed complaints. Triggered inquiries. Her signature alone froze everything. That's when I staged the dinner. A quiet steakhouse. Private room. I wore the same suit I'd worn when I first signed the deed. Petty, maybe, but satisfying. Her parents arrived smug, my wife fashionably late, as if she were performing. I placed a folder on the table. My name was never removed from the title, I told them. You forged records, hid them under a fake trust, but the public record doesn't lie. Neither does the person I sent it to. Her father reached for the folder. I didn't let go. I've already filed a lawsuit. Fraud. Theft. Conspiracy. You'll burn through every cent of your pensions before it even goes to trial. He turned to her. She turned to me. But I was already standing. They're still tangled in the case. Last I heard, they were mortgaging their home to keep afloat. Her aunt's testimony dismantled their story. The judge called it a calculated attempt to dispossess the rightful owner. I sat quietly in the back row during the hearing. She didn't speak, just stared at the floor, her hands shaking. When the ruling came down, I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I walked outside into the winter air, breathed deep, and drove back up the mountain. The cabin was locked, but my key still worked. Inside, I found the leather chair, tucked beneath the top, untouched. I poured myself a drink, stood at the window, and watched the snow fall. You don't need to shout to be heard. Proof speaks louder than anger. They tried to take my trust, my time, and my home. Instead, I took everything else. And now, when she insists it's still family property, she's not wrong.